Hi guys, thank you for joining me today. My name is Megan and today I have the second edition of my holiday gift giving guide for you. So the next few books are all just kind of quirky odds and ends that I thought were really interesting, and I don't know, I hope you guys like them. So the first book in this kind of like quirky, offbeat kind of book recommendation for you is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. This was one of my absolute favorite books this year. So this book follows Monty, his best friend Percy, and his sister Felicity as they travel across Europe on a grand tour. So it's basically Monty getting to know all of the important people in Europe, as well as getting himself out there so he can make business deals in the future. So this book also kind of deals with this crush that Monty's had on his best friend Percy forever, and Percy's also had a crush on Monty, but they've never done anything about it because it's not quite appropriate. And Monty's a bit of a player. Monty will sleep with pretty much anybody, boys, girls, doesn't matter to him. And he's just kind of a wild card. So this book is really funny as well as really emotional and very interesting, and this historical fiction kind of novel, and it's perfect for anybody looking for an LGBTQ plus novel, as well as something that represents disabilities and is inclusive. The next book in this kind of quirky reading is Carnival. I do have a full review for this book and I will link it up above, and this book is very interesting. So Carnival is not just a game, it's pretty much life or death for these characters, or some of the characters, and it's a way for the main character Scarlett to escape from a prearranged marriage and find her own destiny and find a love of her own. So Carnival is perfect for anybody who's interested in a quirky circus-like atmosphere, something similar to like the Night Circus. The next book that I'm going to recommend is Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. This was such a wonderful read. So Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore follows Clay Janin, and he basically lost his job as a web designer, and he finds a help wanted sign in the window of Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. So he basically gets the job as the night clerk, and people come and check out books rather than buying them, because all of these books are written in code, and it's very interesting. And this book has a magical realism quality to it. It doesn't necessarily have magic in it. It's got its own sort of magic to it, and this book is just beautifully written, and they go on this kind of really cool like espionage adventure trying to figure out what these books mean and how they're all connected to each other, and one of the best books that I've ever read. And it's not a fantasy, which is really cool. This book is perfect for anybody who wants to read a book set in a bookstore, as well as, you know, having a clandestine espionage kind of feel to it as well as this like magical realism feel to it. So the next book that I'm going to talk about is Envy of Angels by Matt Wallace. This was such a weird book, and I believe I mentioned this in my spooky book recommendation from back in October around Halloween. So this book is about a bunch of characters who work for Scène du Jour, which is a catering company, but they don't cater to humans, they cater to supernatural, so demons, angels, vampires, that kind of stuff. So there's all sorts of weird stuff that goes on in this book. I thought it was just really interesting that this book is based around food and all the weird things like you would expect like a demon to eat, which is weird but really cool at the same time. And this book is perfect for anybody looking for something new and adventurous, as well as based around food. The last book in this gift guide is Welcome to Night Vale. This is the first novel in the Welcome to Night Vale universe. Is one of the best, weirdest, quirkiest books that you will ever read. And I believe I also recommended this in my spooky book recommendations from October, so it'll be linked above somewhere. But this is just kind of a really cool novel, separate from the podcast, but also gets tied back into the podcast at some point. So this follows basically the man in the tan jacket, as well as Diane Creighton, and one of the weirdest, quirkiest books you will ever read, and it's perfect for somebody who is a fan of Night Vale, as well as anybody who hasn't read Night Vale and would like to get into it. This is the perfect way to jump in, and then you can jump straight into the podcast, and I don't know. This is also perfect for somebody who's looking for something really weird and really quirky and very, very different. Alright, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you for joining me for my gift giving guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. You can also hit the notification button to get notifications whenever I post a new video. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, I will leave a couple of links down below. I hope you guys have a happy holidays, and bye!